to it, but we will take action on it. As to how we're gonna proceed. And K would be to approve our attorney to proceed with our Thurston Park project as far as the lease that we're into, the 99-year lease, and who has proper ownership of it. And that is all the amendments I'd like to make to it. So, that's it, just have two more, that's all I have.
Old business.
Yes, and then old business, I'd like to add that we will discuss the trustee manual, which we received back from Brian Graham. And Joe will be discussing the DEQ permit that we received. Exactly. Under old business. And now I'll accept the motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll make that motion.
Support. Motion by Clark, supported by Chapman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. I'll accept the motion to approve the minutes of the January 14th regular board meeting.
So moved. Support.
Motion by Datterby, support by Clark. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Any public comment? Yes. go.
I just had, wondered if the council gave a status update on two items, that logging money, if you had any input or ideas how to use that, and also the ice rink idea that was discussed for the pavilion. And also, one other thing, last time, somebody pretty much castigated the police department chief, and I took some umbrage at that, because I think he's done a really, and the department as a whole has done a really good job. They've been competent and professional, I thought, in my dealings with them. And I thought their coverage plan that I observed, you know, is sufficient and probably the best you can get for a small town such as ours. And I think somebody might have commented on that at the meeting, in the council. But I wanted that on the record just because I thought that was somewhat, from my viewpoint, somewhat unfair. But I take the opposite viewpoint of those comments made at the last meeting, but whoever that was, I didn't know who it was.
Thank you. I'm sure Scott,
Great,
thanks you.
thank you.
You never hear enough of that, do you?
And as for,
Not often.
if we can discuss the ice rink, I think we know. I think the ice rink was, of course, all approved and ready to go, and I think because of the weather, it just hasn't happened. I mean, it's all up to them. So there's nothing standing in the way of that. I think the weather was a big drawback.
It just got too warm.
Got too warm, and so
She's been in touch with me.
the lights have been taken care of, right? She's been in touch. So I mean, if they're ready to go, everybody in this end is ready to go. As for the money, the logging money, there's really been no discussion on it, other than we have it, and we have no intention of spending on anything at this point that I know of.
No ideas?
Other than anybody.
Well, I think council's had some ideas, and I think if one were to be thrown out, it would be the Donaldson ball field and the fencing around that, so the school could have tournament play in softball. But again, that's just an idea going out. We're working a lot in Thurston Park right now. There's been talk of maybe using it as a grant matching funds. Right now, everything's talk. Have we got anything from the public people? Not that I'm aware of.
Has it been put on the website, you know, asking for input? We talked about that last meeting. Is that
Not yet.
ideal? Would you do that? Would that be something you'd want to do? So most people wouldn't even know about it, I'm sure, you know. But it's true, up to you guys.
Well, I think the council's in agreement, we do, I just don't know, we've got a lot on our plate right now, I guess is what I'm saying, so I don't know if now is the right time to dive into that, but I think we won't, in my opinion, we won't spend it until we get a lot of public input on it. Any other public comment? The closed public comment period. Scott, please report.
Thank you. Appreciate Mr. Ritter's comment. It's not often heard, but goes with the territory. Hopefully everybody got a chance to look at the report. Kind of a slow month. We kind of are wrapping up last year's fiscal year, or not fiscal year, but the annual year for everything that we have to do. It doesn't have to do anything here, but end of year stats and stuff like that. After I spoke with you guys last time, you guys gave us the green light to fill Brett's position. Been in talk with Bill Chapman, and we've kind of come to a plan. We've kind of pretty much taken some applications just unofficially. Came up with a good candidate that works at the sheriff's department that obviously used to work here. Name is Josh Jones. He worked here for about 1.5 years. Went to work for the sheriff's department, and he's interested in coming back 1 day a week and kind of help fill in the blanks and stuff like that. Really wasn't for that at first, but it's actually kind of a good deal because us as a village, we get the benefit from somebody that can hit the floor running. All of his training and education, everything's all taken care of, so we can kind of just plug him in where needed. Unfortunately, with a small town like we have, if I give you a perfect example, like domestic violence, I may handle 1 or 2 every so often, but not that often. If you have a new person that's out of college that really doesn't know what's going on and, with their feet not too wet, it's kind of hard to plug them in and get them to catch up to speed really quick here. So he seems to think that he can do this pretty much long term, so we don't have to worry about filling a position like we have been in the past, where somebody just comes, finds a full-time job, and then bounces out of here. So, and we'll see how that goes. If not, I've got in touch with another person that could fill in a spot a couple days a month too, to kind of make sure that we're again not going over what you've already allotted for the part-time help. So I feel really confident that we'll have this up and running. I kind of wanted to drag it out a little bit, and I was talking to Joel a little bit as far as finishing up this fiscal year, so I'll kind of drag it until like March, so we'll get into a new budget. So that way I feel a bit more comfortable with our current budget that we're not going to go over, so we'll be good there. So probably by the time we have our next meeting next month, he'll be on board, ready to go, and it's just a matter of getting him sworn in and getting him a few things that we don't have, and he's ready to go.
Any questions?
And I've got Josh's application and his stuff, if anybody would like to look at it, I'd be more than glad to take a look at it and stuff like that. Pretty much everything else, kind of standard, like I said, a little bit slow. There's an item on there, we had a dog run into our patrol car, so trim piece missing now, so we'll get that taken care of very shortly, probably when the weather gets a little nicer. No, the dog didn't fare too well, so still alive, but didn't fare too well. But animal control came and helped out with that. So that's kind of where we're at. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Dan?
Very untypical month, lots of snow plowing. You'll notice on your report, 103 hours of overtime in the month of January. That's pushing snow and hauling snow, just unbelievable. So of course the fuel's up, I'm concerned about the budget, it's gonna be real close on the 2 street departments, how we come in, depending on what the end of February is. 1 light pole got hit, you'll see that on there, DPW hit it. The new light is in the works of being sent to us, they gotta make it. And then they'll send it to us, and we have to make a decision if we wanna claim it on insurance or not.
Do you know the cost on that yet, Sam?
The last one we replaced was $1,242 for the light.
I did get a hold of Pat and Wally, and they said they would be interested in looking at that one to see if it's weldable also for a spare.
Nope. We got 200. 200. Right, Pat? I'm pretty sure it's $200 deductible is what we pay on any claim we turn in. And number 1, Act 51, MDOT money has been filed with MDOT, so we're all square there. Any questions? If not, thank you.
I'd like to say thanks for the 103 hours overtime. I think downtown's been great this year. I really do.
It's been a tough month.
Early in the morning, I think you guys do a great job.
Thank you.
I have no correspondence. If anybody has any? Nothing. Committee reports. Streets and sidewalks, Rob?
I think Sam said it best, pushing snow, hauling snow.
Good. Rob, you want on it?
Yeah, it's pretty quiet. Got a request for sewer hookup in the spring, and there was one complaint of frozen water, but it was actually turned off. It was in the house.
Oh, that's an easy one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing we had to do anything.
Bill, Law?
I think Chief covered everything pretty much we had to talk about. I mean, it's got things rolling pretty good, no big hurdles to overcome.
Very good. Denise, communications?
Yeah, at our Parks and Recreation Committee meeting, we had talked about brochures for the park. And I stopped and talked to Jack at the print shop and got some quotes on what, brochures like this would, cost. So I've got that information, if you wanna go over it, sometime, I've got the prices and a couple
I
samples.
think in the action items there, Denise, we've got it in there to address the recommendations from all of us that took on different tasks during that.
Okay,
Thank you, Denise.
Yep.
Joe, finance and personnel.
Pretty standard. Doing a lot of stuff. Talked with Sam quite a bit. He's called me every time before they go into overtime doing the streets, and my suggestion to him every time that need to be done, let's get them done. We've had a couple of emails regarding the sidewalks and how some people didn't think they were plowed good, and Sam's worked on that. We got a return email that says, thank you for doing the good job.
And now she's happy.
And so I think Sam
I
and them
love
again
the
have
streets.
been doing a great job with that. I don't think, right off our budget, we've looked over our budget, all of our our fund balances are gonna come in. We've got a couple, one questionable one, our sewer, partially my fault or our fault for not missing, we missed one billing cycle in the updated cost on that. But other than that, everything's looking real good with our budget. Pat's gonna work with our auditors to get everything straightened out, a few things, and we're looking pretty good. We did go forward with a backup on our computer with Iron Keep. We're moving forward also with Iron Keep is going to archive all of our emails according to our retention schedule. And this is going to be, did you yet?
Yeah.
Okay, but I guess I can put it out there. We've got some just quotes for some IT support and some different aspects of different things, and we're going to discuss that a little later in action items.
Thank you. Leela, Mark?
Okay, we have a meeting down at the park discussing our frontage down there on the lake and other things, and the bathroom and so forth. That will be brought up later on in the action items. We did have a very good meeting with the gentleman, so we hope that we can get some improvement down there.
Thank you. President's report. Joe covered most of them for me. Rob and I attended a DNR seminar on Thursday on the grants, which was very informative, so I'm glad we went. We got a lot of good information on grants, which we'll talk about later in proceeding on that. So I thought it was a good use of our time to attend that seminar. I was very pleased with it. Of course, we've got all of our code ordinances, everything back from Brian Graham. He's looked at them. We'll talk about the trustee policy. His thought was we should contact the company about it, and I'll probably say the word wrong. I don't know if it's codification or codification, but there's companies that look at them and make sure everything's in proper format. I have a couple companies giving us a price, I don't know. My assumption is gonna be, it's gonna be a lot of money, and we're gonna discuss whether we need to go down that road or not. But he said you definitely don't wanna pay an attorney to do it, because there's companies that'll do it for a lot less than attorney fees. So we're working through that. I guess while people are here, I'd just like to make the comment that, of course, I sit on the BC, on the Planning Commission. We're currently down to 3 members. We need 5, and any word people get out there, any public, we need people on this Planning Commission. We should have a very active, involved Planning Commission. We have 3 people that are active and involved, but we need more. We need to get our Planning Commission up and running and being effective, so.
Ken, we aren't allowed to have anybody else in the council.
Yes, one person can be outside of the village.
One person off the council.
Oh, off the council, off the
Off
council.
the council,
Right.
Only 1/3 of the membership on the council can be, so that for a 5-person council, that leaves only 1 person. As far as if in the village, that's what I thought you were asking.
No.
1 person on the planning commission can be from outside the village limits. That's on a 5-person planning commission.
If we're gonna discuss that
What do
for
you want
just
to me, Bill?
a second, I think this would be something that we should really discuss, getting a joint planning commission with our township, because anything that we do in the village is going to encompass the township also. And so it would be nice to start working that venture with the township as a joint planning commission. Councilman Mullins, any thoughts?
And I guess another comment, I wasn't gonna discuss, but I am, just so it's a matter of record. There's been complaints made about how the village handles FOIA requests. To my knowledge, the village has fulfilled every FOIA request, answered. As a matter of fact, there's some on the desk that have been there for over a month that have not been picked up. We followed every FOIA rule. We do not request FOIA, information to be requested by FOIA to avoid giving out information. We requested, so we have a record of the information was given out and picked up, because there were issues with people claiming we weren't giving out information that wasn't asked for. So I actually took personal resentment, and I'm sure Pat did too, by comments being made that we weren't fulfilling it and that we were trying to hide behind FOIA. So just so everybody knows, that's not the case. I think it's bad policy to expect any council member to be able to sit up here and hand out any information they want to anybody with no record. I think that's a bad road to go down. I think FOIA is fair. I think the fact that they pay the actual cost of the copies they get is fair, because I don't think the burden should be on you to pay for other people's requests for information. It's usually very small cost. So I hope it's publicly known that our village handles FOIA properly and we do it for the right reasons. So that's all I want to say about that. With that is the end of my report. I'll accept the motion for the approval of bills prepaid in the amount of $1,276.23, payroll in the amount of $5,996.09, payables in the amount of $10,047.42, for a total amount of $17,319.74.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Chapman, supported by Thayer. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Batterby?
Yes.
Bodley?
Yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Thayer?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Cruising?
Yes. Motion passed. New business. Did you want to comment at all on that, just the fact that?
Yeah, actually, the new business, the IT contract, what we did is we had Iron Keep in, doing our backup and archiving of our emails, and they approached us with actually doing an IT contract with them. It would amount to, in the ballpark, they're still getting back with us, of $40 to $45 per computer, 2 computers, Pat's and Scott's. It's a on-site, or a remote and on-site unlimited IT, from my understanding with it. I'm not exactly sure on the contract, did that come in there yet, or not?
It's there, but to be honest with you, I need to talk to, and I'm sure you too, with Cory.
Yes, I
Who
just
know-
said
who know what they're telling us, because I'll tell you, they use words I don't know, and I'm not gonna get involved in something that I don't know what they're truly telling us they're giving.
I also stopped and talked with Cory today. He would like a chance in giving us a quote to do this also. So I guess I will, for the time being, would say let's just table this and get some more good information. I think Cory he's been a great help when it comes to understanding some of the outsides into it, and so I definitely would like to see us keep that business local if possible, so. If nobody has a problem with that, we'll just table that particular aspect right now.
Yeah. Fine. Action items. According to state statute, which, I'll be honest, I forgot about it last month. When we appoint a clerk treasurer, it's a 2-year appointment that coincides with the president's term. Every 2 years, that has to be reappointed. That's the state statute, it's something we have to do to abide by it, so I'm gonna make the recommendation that we reappoint Pat Marshall for a 2-year term.
Support it.
Double
Motion by
support.
Cruzy, supported by Bodley. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Pat? two more years. And at the same time, we need to appoint a FOIA coordinator. That's once again under the FOIA Act. So my recommendation would be that we appoint Pat as our FOIA coordinator, which means all FOIA requests will go through Pat. So motion by Grudy, support by Chapman, all in favor? Aye. Motion passes. A while back, I think, I would guess in the fall, am I correct? We talked about upgrading
The last
the electric
while
in the
was-
campground.
Yep.
And we said we would bring it up again before spring, so we can move forward. So if everybody has a copy of the proposal?
Yep, it was in our packets.
Yeah.
Our electric, $1,500. To upgrade that to two 200 amp panels and transfer half the load to the new service panel. I would make a motion that we allow our electric to do that.
I'll support it.
Motion by Bodley, support by Clear. Any discussion? Roll call, please, Pat.
Batterby,
Yes.
Bodley,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cruising.
Yes.
Just so you all know, that was budgeted in the 2013-14 budget.
With the council's approval, I'd just like to move D to the end, because I think that's what we're gonna spend a lot of time talking about, so I just assume move through the other things, if that's okay. Thank you. Item number E is to adopt a planning commission ordinance. Once again, under the Planning Enabling Act of 2008, we needed to redo our planning commission ordinance. We already had one, it needed to be redone to make sure it addressed, which is basically wording changes, nothing's changed, nothing was done wrong. It's just something that had to be done to come into compliance with the Planning Enabling Act. So Brian Graham wrote us up a new ordinance, and everybody has it. So I can honestly tell you, it hasn't really changed for others, there's just some very little wording changes. So if we have a minute just to look it over, if there's any questions. I think the one thing that changed the most was, we used to have one member from the village council on the planning commission, you don't have to anymore, it's not a requirement. You may have one, you don't have to have one.
I make a motion that we accept the ordinance number 1 of 2013.
Motion by Bodley, support by Chapman, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. F, as we all know, we've been working on a master plan, rec plan within the village. The planning commission's been working on it for quite some time. At the planning commission meeting, the last one, the planning commission approved the master plan. A while back, the village enacted their right to also approve the master plan, so at this time, it's in front of the village council to approve the master plan, the upgrade of the master plan with the recreation plan incorporated into it. So you have that resolution in front of you. So I would accept the motion to accept the master
I
plan.
motion to accept.
Motion by Dare,
Support.
support by Clark. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Also, at the last planning commission meeting, there's been discussion ongoing for quite a while about some changes to the zoning ordinance. What was happening was we were realizing within the village, we were granting more variances than we thought we should, because truthfully, within zoning, in my opinion, you shouldn't grant too many variances if your zoning fits your community. So since ours was new, we realized there were some issues with our lot sizes being small and our setback being too restrictive. And we granted too many variances in our opinion, and we had issues with fences. So the recommendations from the planning commission were to change the setback, the minimum yard setbacks, in village mixed use, it was 10 feet, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was 10-foot setbacks on the side lot lines and the rear lot lines. The planning commission's recommendation, and this is based on contacting other communities too about our size, is to change that setback to 5 feet. That's their first recommendation. The second one is there were issues with fences. Ours stated that a fence had to be 2 feet off the property line, unless an agreement was signed by the applicant and the adjacent property owner. It's quite a while ago, we were told by Brian Graham that was, I can't remember his words, but pretty much silly, that you don't allow two property owners to sign an agreement to get around your zoning. So we knew we had that issue to work with. Then in talking to other communities, also found out that many communities anymore allow a fence basically on the property line. It's stated that the fence will be constructed on your property. So that's their recommendation, is that we change that. That it would end up reading, the finished side of the fence shall face the adjacent property and shall be constructed on the owner's property. And we also changed the definition of a fence because we realized some people's definition of fences are a little bit different than we ever thought a fence would be interpreted as. So the new definition would be that a fence must be constructed of material marketed and manufactured as fencing and/or screening material exclusive of agricultural fencing. So none of them are probably the perfect answer, but in my opinion, it's a major step forward.
Do you still need property owner's permission, abutting property owner's
No, as long as it's on your,
As long as it's on
your property.
Okay.
Yes.
Define finish thing.
That was the other, that's a whole other issue, the planning commission is going to do at some point, because we know it is, we know it. But if somebody makes an issue of it, you will probably, if they wanted to go to court, not be able to get them to move their fence, because they will say that's the finished side, so. We talked about it at the planning commission, we thought for now, we just wanted to move forward with this. So it's one step at a time, because I know I shouldn't laugh, but it sounds silly to have to define the finished side of a fence, but that's what the world came down to. So without getting a lot of it, we will, that's something we'll look at, I think, as a planning commission meeting, we should probably look at it quite a bit, get a lot of definitions from other people, because you could probably go to extremes with that, you know?
There's also part of the lawyer's advice, their attorneys, that we take out the agreement between landowners.
Yes, that came out of it.
That was a big thing there with it is.
So I would accept a motion to accept those zoning changes.
I would make that motion, definitely.
Motion by Clark, support by Chapman. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, motion passes.
Sharon will be happy.
As I said earlier, a while back, we sent all of our ordinances, codes, policies, resolutions, we sent them all to Brian Graham because we thought it was time to just have everything as a whole looked at. You have them in front of you, he came back with some recommended changes. What I'm asking for at this time is that we're not approving these changes. What I'm recommending is that we allow Brian Graham to make these changes, we'll put them in our code, we'll bring them back, and then we can approve that new code. And if you want a chance to look through them with any questions, that's fine. I think probably the one major one that I knew we didn't want to do ourselves was the land division ordinance. He says this ordinance should be updated to comply with amendments to the Land Division Act and recent court rulings. So, I'm sure that's an attorney issue. Some of them I think will clear themselves up. Number 5, the sewer ordinance, that's been done. We didn't have a copy of it, that was my mistake. But we did our sewer ordinance number 3 of 2011.
I think that's a good idea.
Again, a lot of them are just small wording changes, but I thought he's had them, were probably best to allow him to do it.
And you can do it all in one trip.
Yeah, and then we'll get him back and then we can approve it. He looked at the peddler's ordinance, the same recommendations we had. His comments were section 20.2 could be amended to include an exception for charitable organizations such as the Girl Scouts and school activities.
At one time, we had talked a couple of years ago about putting an ordinance in there for parks as far as some type of enforcement issue with the rules and regulations, not only for campers, but non-campers. And I've got some literature and some emails that relate to that. We probably should add to that too.
Okay.
In case in point, if somebody came to our park and was causing problems, you know, not only can they be kicked out, but could they actually be charged with an ordinance violation for, drug and disorderly or something like that, other than something that pertained, yeah, I'll give you the email.
Okay, because we had some recommendations from Brian at one time, right? And his interpretation of where we were
Yeah.
at that point 2 years ago.
And the other problem was if a camper came there to camp and they were being loud, even though they're a camper, are we in contract with them? Can they truly be kicked out? And, well, it's a gray area as far as, so. But that should probably be another one that is looked at, so. to make it
Okay.
current, so.
Yep, we can do that.
And then one other one, I think we have an issue of, the ORVs. The ordinance in itself doesn't relate specifically to the campground or not, so. Because there's a sign that says no ORVs in the campground, but it doesn't address it in the ORV ordinance. So you could drive an ORV through the campground,
Right?
even though there's a sign that says can't.
So we just need to discuss that.
Yeah, just a couple
decide
cleanups.
Which way we wanna go with that.
So I'd make a motion actually that we move forward and allow Mr. Graham to make the changes to these ordinance to bring back for review.
We're gonna include them.
Are we gonna have him include them now or?
I'm looking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't speak for Brian, but I think Scott's right, we'll send him information. then
Well, if he makes any recommendations, then you guys could vote on them, whether they're.
Yeah, he can write them up for us.
Yep.
Motion by Bodman, support by Chapman, all in favor? Aye, motion passes, thank you. Item I is to approve the township purchasing gas from us, and I'll kind of let Sam speak on that, because,
I want to speak on it.
but Sam's okay with it.
The village has been approached from the township about buying fuel. Right now, the township buys the fuel from the local BP station, so they pay all the road tax. The cost for the township to set fuel tanks, because you have to make self-containment in case there is a fuel spill and everything. So the townships come to us and said, can we purchase fuel from you? That's why it's in front of you. To me, I talked to Bill, Ken, Joe, none of us really see a problem with it. It's really a pretty simple deal to go through to make them accountable for what they take. I don't see an issue.
So I accept the motion to allow the township to proceed.
Are we willing to make that motion?
Motion by
Support.
Chapman, support by Batterby, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. I'd like just to skip the K for a second so we can get that out of As you know, we've talked quite a bit about the lease on Thurston Park and moving forward and seeing who truly has the right to that lease. We gained a lot of information from, help me with her name, Denise Shook? Yep. Okay. So we received a lot of information from her on the family and who's left and who isn't. It's my recommendation that we now take that to Brian Graham and let him sort through the legal issue of which family members we need to contact who really has a right to that lease. And then there's many issues beyond that, trust me, but that's the first one. We have to know who to contact, who legally is there. So my recommendation would be that we just take that to Brian Graham and proceed.
I thought we had done that a few years back.
We did.
Never actually
got
did it
that.
formally.
Never
We
got
did
that
talk to
far.
We
him.
were still working.
We
on
talked to
it.
him and then we
We
decided.
talked to him, but we didn't do anything about
Ms.
it.
Shook's volunteered to do some research.
She
Yeah.
did a lot. I can tell you, we have a binder this thick, full of family history on the Thurston family. So she did a lot of work. So I would accept the motion. to
I will
send
make
it.
that motion that we go ahead with Thurston Park. I wanna see that
Support
done.
by Dare. We should probably do roll call because that will cost us some money. So.
Tyler,
Yes.
Sager,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Bodley,
Yes.
Batterby,
Yes.
Cruising.
Yes.
Couldn't handle it that
She was trying and got
much.
lost.
You did that last month. You were good.
Now, we have from Northwest Design Group, and I think maybe you'll have to talk to us a little bit about our grant project.
Put together a
proposal and then a statement of qualifications, just background about our company and our experience, who will have on this project. For your review. So we'll get through this kind of quickly. So you can see what's there and answer any questions you have. Go from there. Would you like a copy? Okay, so if you open up there, the first tab is our proposal. So this is where we, and we can negotiate any part of this that you like, but this is where we describe the project, the scope of our work, and then in terms of the agreement, and so this is what will become our contract once we get through, once it's acceptable to you. So the statement of understanding there on that first page just describes how we understand the project to be, scope of our services. In the contract, I describe services all the way through construction phase, but I only, at this time, I have specifics on the first conceptual design grant application assistance phase. So, let's go through on the second page there. So let me just describe the conceptual design grant application systems part of it. And then later in here I have the specific tasks again with hours and associated fees, so we can go to that too. But I envision that we'll kick off, and we'll have to go quickly because the grant application's April 1st application deadline, and there's requirements in there. If we do the trust fund, there are requirements for public notice and board resolution and things like that. So we may require a special meeting, and we certainly are gonna have to jump on it. So I envision us right away, meeting with you folks or whatever whatever you want to establish to, as it's maybe a smaller group to work through this project. So we'll start off with a kickoff meeting, and we'll develop a plan right away, schedule, lay out what all the steps are going to be necessary, plan what meetings we're going to hit, if we're going to need to do special meetings, that kind of thing. So we'll do that first. Then we'll develop conceptual designs, and I understand the main focus is the restroom building expansion and renovation. So we'll have concepts and budgets for that, and then we'll also look at other park improvements with the docks and things associated with that. And look at taking you through the trust fund application too. So the passport will be the restroom building, trust fund will be the other. And we'll work with, there's one great grant coordinator there for both, and we'll work closely with her through all this to help decide how that gets put together. It might be one project with those items that were separated, or it might, we'll work with her to kind of decide the most effective way to present that to make it competitive. So I think that's an important thing to do, I think, is to get that involvement right away. So when things come there, it's what she expects, she already knows about the project. So that's just, then ADA compliance is required, so we'll list that there. Coordinate the designs with all other kind of permitting agencies and requirements. And then we'll present those concepts to village council or recreation committee, however you want us to do that, to solicit opinion and input. And then we'll make necessary changes and put the grant applications and all that concept together. Now, one thing that you mentioned when we met was that we may want to work with Sarah Christensen and Northern Lakes Economic Alliance. I did contact her. We're happy to do that. Okay. And she could do I'm talking to her, they would be able to do the writing the grant applications and helping with the writing part. We can also do that. So we can work through that, and we're happy to. I have a separate line item in the fee estimate later on here.
For that cost.
And if we end up having her do that, I figured that'd be about $2,000 or less.
Okay.
So if we figure that can be done more economically by her or something, we're happy to line that up with ours and work with her on that. I also talked to Mary Campa with the recreation plan, and so I'm aware of what's in there, and we worked with her at several projects in the past, and know her, and she just down the road from us, so we can solicit her input if you'd like us to, that kind of thing. She's read all that kind of thing. And yes, good. So she'll be a good resource, I think, too, if you'd like us to do that. So then we'll present our final conceptual plans as a public hearing and board meeting, that public, assuming that we go through the trust fund application, that will be required. Prepare the estimates, and that's a really important part of what we'll do, is to propose a budget that's gonna actually get done, what we need to get done. Once you get through the grant phase, and you get your grants, the worst thing that could happen is to not have enough money to actually do what you gotta do, so we do a lot of that, and we have a good track record with that, so that's an important thing. And then we can complete grant applications, follow up with grant agencies, like I said, we can do that, or work with Northern Economics. So then I list out, if the funding comes through and the projects are go, I include in here that, final design steps and construction phase steps. I think we need to do those at this time. So, fees and timing, we estimate we'll recommend a scope of service that's about $9,000. There's flexibility in that there's a range of service, or a range of service that can be provided at this time, and we recommend this much to put together a strong grant application. You could do less, you could do more. It's how far do you take the graphics and the level of detail. But in our opinion, this will get you a level of detail that gets you really strong, or reliable cost estimates, and an application package that's going to look to be very competitive. So. But again, that's something that we can happy to discuss with you if that's out of line with what you're thinking. Then the agreement, we have just our general standard agreement terms that go with all our contracts. So we're happy to, you can look at those, you can forward them to Brian, and we can negotiate those too. But he's been through our general provisions for other clients before, Bonnie has. Right. Trying to think if he had any, I don't think he had any comments before, but we're happy to entertain any of his input there. And if you're interested, I did one recently that he reviewed. I can verify my recollection if he did have any comments, something. Tell you what they were. That was for Charlotte County. So then after that, you'll see engineering fee estimates. So this is where we list the same kinds of things that we have in the contract there, but we list hours and associated costs with those. So I'm budgeting 4 hours for myself and our landscape designer to meet and kind of get things kicked off and planned at the beginning. And I have a day for one person to spend in the field, taking measurements and looking at doing kind of field design on the site. Got 4 hours for our CAD person to prepare a base plan. I expect to do that just from existing data. The county has, aerial that we can expect that we'd be able to use and things like that to save on surveying costs, which I show the surveying as a later phase. If you can put things like that off into a later phase, the grants will pay for it. Okay. They don't pay for the work that you do up front after the grant. So we try to put as much of that off as you can. So anyways, then I have for develop conceptual design alternatives. I have about half a day for me to put input on that, and I have 3 days for our domestic designer. That's Dan Ulrich. I don't know if any of you know Dan, but I think he's lived in this area before. I think he knows very well. But he's there, so that gives time for back and forth, to have ideas and get them out there and solicit input and make changes. And then prepare CAD drawings. So these conceptual drawings will become
part of the grant application. They'll be used obviously to to display what were the ideas and the designs. Construction costs, identify potential grant opportunities. So we know we're gonna look at the Natural Resources Trust Fund passport, but we'll take a look and see if there are others that we can try for. And then we've got time in there for meetings, so there's be a total of 3 meetings there. So. And that's just what ends up being required to get through with the grant requirements. So once, if that's acceptable, and once we get that to the point that it's acceptable, we sign this, like I said, that'll become our agreement. The rest of this binder just is background information for you about our company. So the first tab there, entity organization, just tells about the background of our firm and the types of services and things that we provide. The project team, we've got just bullet points on about our staff, an organization chart that just shows all the different specialties that we can bring to bear on the project. As and a lot of this will be later on in the project, but in-house we can provide geotechnical engineering, municipal, structural, landscape, CAD surveys in-house, construction engineering services, testing services. So we'll be able to provide just about everything in-house. So that makes it more streamlined and more close. Then resumes. So I'm not gonna. I have resumes of everybody on board right here, so you can scan those at your time. And then I have relative experience. So some bullet points about our experience related to this type of work, and then several projects listed with descriptions about projects. So there's just again more things that you can look through to see that some of the things that we've done in the past are related to this. We list references back, so please feel free to contact those people or anybody you see from the projects listed or any, a lot of work in areas, so we shouldn't have any trouble finding people that we've done this type of work for.
Will there be any problem getting permits to do this type of work?
Boy, with the restroom project, I don't anticipate any issues at all. Of course, with the DNR, or DQ actually, it's been back to the DQ now. Down along the waterfront, that'll require a permit. I don't expect that to be a problem, but you never know until you apply, I guess. But based on my experience and what I saw down there, I think that we'll be able to do the kinds of things that we're talking about doing. When we met out there, we talked about adding some floating docks and like that. So it's nothing great to flag for me on there for being. We'll solicit their input too right away before we do a grant application for it. So that'll give us an idea.
Did we find out, I'd asked you the day of the meeting, are we further off getting doing a large spectrum of a grant, and then bringing it down into phases for completion? Does that help us at all, hurt us?
Yep, I have that question, but I didn't answer it. I have it right here. I wrote your question down. That I would suggest we work through that with Christie as we're putting things together. And we'll be able to show with what I gave here as there's enough flexibility in here that we can expand it and that kind of meet those, what we think is going to make us the most competitive. It's always good though to at least be able to show that it's part of the big picture. For sure, I know that. But when we have more specifics and things, I want to send that stuff to her ahead of time and talk through with her. We usually do that and it's helpful. I think it's good for her too to, she's involved in how we're putting things together when it comes to her. I think it makes the person more satisfied with what they're getting.
A line item, you have prepare the grant application for the trust fund and passport. Well, we went to that workshop. We're also eligible for the waterway grant.
Oh, right down by the water there.
So are you gonna charge us more money, because we're at 1,920 to do the 2 grants? If we have to write in a 3rd grant, will there be more money accrued because you're writing up a 3rd grant?
You know, it's gonna be so you know, a lot of the things in there, once we write 2, writing that 3rd one's not gonna take much more. I didn't specifically include that in here, but
Okay.
I can tell you that, I can modify that, so we can pick that up without any more cost.
And then another question
So
was,
I can add that in here. if you
All right.
want to do so.
let me write that down before I hit the next one.
Okay?
Now, there's the July-August revision period. We're gonna turn in this grant by April 1st. Christy Bayes from DNR is gonna look at it. She's gonna give us a preliminary number between July and August. We can do revisions. That $1,920, does that include revisions? Or will there be another fee accrued to clean up our grant application?
I didn't specifically include revisions in there. Another thing that you can do at that, later on in the process is
The
give
July-August revision
give a
period.
presentation too. I can, again, that's a fairly minor thing that
Okay.
that I'll just make sure I do waterways grant and include, so I'll make it part of that.
And then the last question is, so let's say we go through this whole process and we don't get our grant this year for some reason. Will there be a fee the following year to resubmit these grants again? Or is it just, or are you gonna just charge us for the $100 application fee?
We charge just for our time.
Okay.
And so if we're submitting, so it would be additional charge in a subsequent grant cycle.
Oh, so it's another grant cycle?
Well, I mean, if you're talking about if we're gonna resubmit the following year,
Mm-hmm.
but it may be, if it's just a matter of updating dates and not making any significant changes,
Okay.
it'll be really minor. If it's, we decide that we wanna approach it in a whole nother way, then it'll depend on how much work that ends up causing. So, but I didn't figure any time in here to do what might be required
Mm-hmm.
for subsequent, for second tries or whatever.
Another question.
Yes.
So now, we also can do the waterway grant for the dock area, and then we can file another grant for the passport grant for the bathroom, right?
Yeah, you can do up to
We can
three,
do
I think. in the
3
past.
total, we can put in 2 in hopes that both of them
Yes,
come
yeah,
in
but you have to
individually.
Then you just prioritize them for them.
Yeah,
Yes,
and that's included in our $1,920.
yes.
All right.
Yep.
Okay. I'm on.
How long are
Thanks.
those grants gonna be available?
I don't know.
I'll bet you can guarantee 1 year for right now, because the DNR said
Yes.
1 more year. I mean, that's what I've heard from going there. I
You know
can,
what,
every
they-
year it seems like they go down.
what they do is they-
What we were told.
That's
Well,
what,
these trust fund grants is, they're flush. They have,
That's a good one.
Yeah,
And what-
Or
I know,
how are they
like-
funded?
through
Yes.
your gas revenues,
This is
so.
gas leak revenue, right, the trust fund?
Trust fund
Passport
is
recreation
oil and
is
gas.
is the passport
I
recreation
know,
that
but
they
people
can buy.
in the audience might not know.
Okay.
But yeah, we apply, they select projects, the money's not actually obligated until it's legislatively acted on, and that doesn't happen, that'll happen, we submit in April, it'll be, then they select them, and sometime the following year, before they actually really obligate the money. They always have obligated, they've never not, but you don't officially legally have the money until well after you're actually selected.
So let's say we design this grand park area and we're upwards of a $250,000, $300,000 grant that we're looking at. Obviously, our 25% matching on that's gonna be over our head of what we can actually do. Is there a cost to back design that or down design it to get us back into
No, that's,
a range that's
that's what we,
acceptable?
those are the steps in there we have to solicit input from you guys and to make revisions. So there's time in there, I have time built in here to come to you with ideas and costs, get input, and then make changes accordingly. So to get to back down would be, yeah, it's easy to take things down.
I think we still got a lot of questions, don't we? Just oddball things, little things, or?
It's a nitty bitty.
Yeah, I think as far as going through with the grant process, I'm pretty comfortable with what we're hearing. You know, I think a lot of questions are gonna come up when we get to how big of a project are we looking at? And I think that question's in all of our minds, are we looking at 150,000, or are we talking 300? Because if we get into the lake frontage, the bathhouse, we can all take a guess at, and we'd be pretty close. When we get down on the lake frontage, I gotta tell you, I wouldn't even throw a ballpark figure out. I'm talking floating docks and boardwalks and what's probably gonna be a DEQ wetland, because that's the DEQ. So, I think that's where a lot of questions will come up, is at what point do we say that's as far as we wanna go financially, and what do we do with that? But now, I don't think we're near that point yet, are we now? Now we're at
Yeah,
the
we
point
need to
now.
be there now, when we, when we do our initial kickoff there, we'll try to get some idea, of, about what kind of size you might wanna be, and then go from there.
But at the point where you start writing a grant, you must by then have
We need to know.
this cost by then, right? You have to have that nailed down.
Yeah, not a cost before then, when we're looking at options, there'll be costs associated with those, because you'll need that to make decisions.
Absolutely.
Well, we haven't got that much time.
That's why, I'll say it now, my recommendation is gonna be, of course, well, obviously, we're not gonna make a decision right here tonight, but that we allow that decision to be made by finance and personnel, or maybe a few from there, and one from Parks and Rec, we'll discuss that, because this literally is, we have to move within days, in my opinion, this has to happen. And we knew it going into it, if we're gonna do that and meet April 1st deadline, we have to be willing to move. I mean, they're willing to go.
As soon as
we
we
have to be
know,
willing
I'm
to
gonna
pull the
wanna
plug
get
and
with
go.
them.
Rob has put in a lot of time and brought some great resources for us. I'd like to actually myself get in and read some of them and maybe pick Rob to bring a little bit more on this before I made a decision, but I think I agree with Ken, that it's definitely time sensitive.
Well, I think with your finance committee, I think Rob would be the one he's not on the parks though. is he?
Yes,
Yeah,
he's
used
on the
to.
parks, yeah.
You're on the parks now, sorry about that, Rob. Anyway, yeah, I think you would be the one to sit in when because you're the one that got it taken care of. I think you would be more able than I am to handle that.
All right.
So for now, are there any more questions for Lucas? or
I have none.
Well, then,
And then we'll move on with that later.
okay.
We'll go right now. We'll allow him to leave if he wants.
Thank you, Lucas.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks,
you
Luke.
very
Thank you,
much.
Sonia, thank you for bringing this.
So. That's always a good idea to anybody, I'm just throwing out ideas, I think we should pick 3 people that wanna proceed with this, and as a council, we give them the authority to go ahead and do it. You know, because I know there's another firm that's been contacted, and, but there's a decision that has to be made unless we wanna have another special meeting, and I don't think there's a need for that.
Well, a decision has to be made because it'll be 2 years away then.
Yes, that's it, we have to
This,
move.
this grant, it comes before and we get it in December and we can't make a move till the following summer. So if we wait another 6 weeks, essentially we're waiting another 2.5 years.
I would volunteer to jump onto a committee, say with Rob and somebody else if they want to move forward with this, if Rob's up
That's
for it.
fine.
I think he's got the majority of the insight on the particular grant so far.
I think we're looking for a 3rd volunteer.
Deal me in.
Rod? Okay.
I'm not volunteering on that one.
I've thought about it a lot today. We have to find a way to move forward. We have to move, so I guess at that point, I
2014 now, don't wanna wait till 2015, I mean, pretty soon it's,
no, we need to,
need to make a move now, so.
yeah. I mean, my personal opinion is we have a very good chance at the passport recreation grant for the bathhouse, and that's just my personal opinion. And it's something we've talked about for a long time, and we're in a good position to move on it now. I can tell you, according to Baird, Cotter, and Bishop, our auditors, financial consultants, whatever term we want to put it them, they looked into our 101 funds. They are very comfortable with the fact that I said, what if we pick a $200,000 project and our match is 25%, which is $50,000, and we decided we were gonna fund it all ourselves and not look for help from the township or anybody. They are very comfortable with the fact that if we make that decision, our 101 account will withstand a $50,000 withdrawal. So that's a decision we have to make if we wanna take it down that far, so.
And that would be your 25%?
Of the five, if this was a $200,000.
Oh,
project.
okay.
You know what I mean? And if we decide no, then like you said, then we downsize the project. Then we have a lot of options, you know, we could go to the township and ask for help on matching money since it's a public park. I don't know, I'm just throwing out ideas off the top of my head, but as far as the village goes, they were comfortable with $50,000 figure, which I know is a lot of money, so there'll be some discussion on that when that point comes to it. But we're not at that point yet. Right now, we're at the point of do we proceed with, I guess, not to exceed $9,000 to move forward with the grant application. I don't want to make a motion, but I would accept that motion.
Don't we?
I'll make a motion.
Yeah, that's why
Motion by Tyler
What is the motion though? I'm sorry.
to allow Joe and Rod to move forward, meet with these engineering firms and make a decision not to exceed $9,000 to proceed with the grant application. There's been a motion by Tyler,
Support.
support by Battery. Roll call?
Batterby,
Yes.
Bodley,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Thayer,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cruising.
Yes.
I think going into this too, that so we're all on the same page, my personal opinion is that we look at engineering this in the largest scale that we think is possible for us, and then bring things backwards from there, if we're all on the same page.
Oh, I'm sure now we just need to move forward with them giving us those costs.
Mhm.
So our engineered drawings may be more excessive than what we're actually gonna do, just knowing that going forward, but.
So what concerns me is that lakefront. I'm sure that we don't get in trouble.
We won't get,
That's why we had the engineering firm.
we won't get in trouble, but it's, I mean,
Yeah.
we know as a
No,
council, we've
no.
talked about this for years, so.
But I wanna be sure that.
Well, they'll- Yeah, they're gonna
You
tell us
will, or
what
we
we
won't get any
can,
money.
yeah, they're gonna tell us what we
Yeah.
can and can't do, or how we have to do it
Oh,
to
yeah.
be able to.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now we are at addressing recommendation from Parks and Public Property, and once again, that is just something we have to move forward on, because we're in that season before we know it, so I guess at this point, any recommendations, what we should do for reservations, campground rates? I think it's important that we
Oh,
put them on the table and move forward.
Let me jump in then here real quick to get my little thing out. I talked with Datacom about putting the Wi-Fi into the campground. Datacom gave us a quote of $1,200, and they are calling this a plug-and-play system, which pretty much is, they plug it in, they walk away from it. We don't have to, they say we don't have to do anything. It's turnkey installation is what they're calling it. That would be $1,200 basically for them to just set up the equipment and put it in play. Missions Computers gave me one today also, which would take us into the $1,100 range. He's included actually a larger Wi-Fi networked area. It would bring in the scope of Thurston Park, Day Park area also. It would be 3 omnidirectional antennas, the router, and he's also including a year of monitoring and support in his quote for $1,100. Tempest Services from Gaylord opted not to even get involved with it. They didn't, wasn't something they wanted to do. So that's the Wi-Fi,
Why don't we deal with that?
okay?
Something on Corey's right here. Corey, is there anything you wanna say?
Well, the Wi-Fi network that I've quoted out there has the capability of creating a secure splash page that only allows, when you log into it, it gives you a site that we can either put advertising on or a little bit about the park or whatever you want, and then it allows them to enter in a passcode. this is something that will be monitored 24/7 as well. So if one of the access points goes down, it would alert me, and then from there, just whatever corrective action needs to be taken. And there's a lot of different things we could do with it, but that seemed to be the most, seemed to fit what you guys were trying to do with it.
I also talked to Corey, because I know when somebody else had mentioned this splash page of the options that we can do with it. We can actually, if we wanted to, and it's something we want to get into later, charge for advertisement on this splash page. Say Bachman's wanted to advertise on our internet at the PIC, and whatever that fee is that we decide, whatever, they could set up an advertisement that would be there, and that would be a charge if we wanted to. So there's different options, any of them in the town. Yeah, I didn't make copies of these. If anybody wants to just kind of DM over them, I'll get you all of those later. But I think from what Corey has looked at, I know Corey has been in the process of working a very similar network setup for the downtown district area. He's been trying to get it going in his own kind of way there, and then working it in his shop before he produces it or puts it out to anybody else, which would be the same thing for just basically the downtown business area if they were interested. And I think he, from the sounds of it, it's the cheaper one, it's
Corey?
local, yes, Corey is, and
He's local.
he's telling us he's giving us the support. I'd like to see it.
He's showing an interest in it.
Yeah, it's what he's doing, and that's so.
My only one question is, after the first year where support and everything was included, what should we expect our yearly costs to be then?
Well, I've actually listed that on there as well, and
360.
I didn't break it out of that, was it 360?
360, yes.
Okay.
So that breaks down to, was it $30 a month or something like that? Was it 360? I don't remember off the top of my head.
There was a-
Yeah, it was 360, you got it out, it's.
Oh, that's at the bottom?
Yeah, that's that,
Okay.
because that was that's after the first year.
Okay.
Denise,
Yeah.
And that would just be an ongoing cost. Something else that allows, we can also filter the internet traffic going through there, because you don't really necessarily always want wide open internet. You want to block like file sharing sites. You want to try to limit liability. Terms and conditions they accept is using the web access, all part of that splash page. That's something that's really hard to nail down. I don't know, and that'd be, I guess, something up for discussion, is what services did you want to allow on your Wi-Fi? Because you don't want necessarily somebody downloading something that may be illegal, and that opens you up to liability of some kind.
We do it for our public Wi-Fi at the store.
And it would password protected?
Password protected, and then we also block certain ports. Really, on my public Wi-Fi, you can access the internet, and a lot of the bad sites are filtered using a service. And then basically you do web surfing and email, and that is it. If you tried to do file sharing, you're not allowed to. If you tried to look and see what other computers are on the network, you're not allowed to. And that's all security concerns. Anybody can just pop a Wi-Fi router in and plug it up, and there you go. There's your Wi-Fi. But that's not secured. That's not protected against different threats and liability.
Now, when you say like file sharing, Corey, I'd be curious, because one of the big things that we want to look at kind of catering to is businessmen and women that come to our campground and set. Would that hinder them in any way?
Sure.
Possibly?
It could, but then it also hinders the kid and the camper up next door from
Right.
looking and seeing what's on your computer. And so there's a necessary evil there. If you need to share files, there's other ways to do it versus over the network. And you definitely don't want to be doing that on public networks anyway.
Okay.
Most IT people frown upon that in public.
Great.
May I ask, what speeds are we looking at?
Datacoms, and actually, that's a great question, because I didn't ask Corey earlier. On Datacoms, it was 100 down, 5 up. And that, actually, I'm sorry, that wasn't Datacom. That was Charters. When I look at theirs, which is going to be we have an option of services there, which is 100 down, 5 up for $200 a month, or 100 down, 5 up, which would take, or I'm sorry, 50 down, 5 up, which would take us to $115 a month.
How much was the first one?
The first one is $200, which is 100 down, 5 up. and the second one was the 50 down, 5 up, which,
Still 5 up.
yep, which, you know, according to charter, obviously in the busier times of your campground, you're gonna want the larger service, but there's no contract with them now, so we could change it from, I would think, week to week, month to month if we wanted to, just to accommodate what we actually have in our campground. So, that was the other one, would be my next one, was what do we wanting to do with the charter since we've got it too? Because we have to have this. to
If
put
you're
that
asking me
in.
which speed do we need?
I
No
think-
idea.
I myself, personally, I would say we start with the slowest, and if we find a need for the larger, we can always bump it up or bring it back since there's no contract. Some people might say, let's start with the biggest and then downsize if we don't need it. I think it's a matter of opinion.
That amount of throughput won't be available to just one user, because it'll be throttled at the access point end. You don't want one person to be able to take over all 50 meg of that download, because they'll hop on somewhere and suck all that up and take it away from everybody else. So that there's actually provisions in there that help to throttle that, so individual users will have less than the total. And it should divvy it up smartly, so that if there's like 15 people on, it's divvied up that way, not to exceed a certain speed. And there's some fine grained control over that. And the more people that are on it, the less they're gonna have a piece of that pie. So depending on how many users you think you're gonna have on it, and everybody's got Wi-Fi anymore, but is everybody just checking their email or surfing the web, or they're trying to watch Netflix? There's a difference.
I guess if we were to go into that, what would be your recommendation starting out?
I'd start low. I'd start low and go up. And if there's a complaint, hey, this is really slow, we'll bump it up to the next one. That's how I would handle it.
Great, thank you.
You may be able to even turn it on and off seasonally, because if the campground's shut down throughout the
Well, it
winter.
would be, yeah.
Yeah, if you go month to month.
When nobody's in camp, so.
And it might be something where June, July, you'll have 100 meg, and the rest of the time you might run 50.
Right.
We can make a decision tonight or next month.
This actually, I think, I'm just throwing it out there. This, I would assume that the hookup and stages of it doesn't have to happen. It's not gonna be a very long thing getting going. Corey probably could have the parts with us within a week or so, and a week or so to get everything hooked up.
I'd say 2 to 3 weeks probably.
So I don't think this has to be acted on tonight. Does anybody have any questions on it?
What you're gonna do it. All we're gonna do is have the approval, we don't have to do anything about it, just get the board's approval.
Could we have a copy of all three of the,
Absolutely, yes.
so that way I can look at them each, if things are going back and forth here, and I'm trying to read them in
Yeah,
here.
that's what I think, maybe, and I'm not saying, I'm just thinking maybe we just let it ride a month, and then everybody feels comfortable with their decision, have time to look at it all.
I'll get copies for
All right,
everybody.
good.
Okay,
Thank you.
so I'm good with that. I did have, so on the parks, I had the mapping of the park, but unfortunately, with my schedule the way it was, schools have been canceled. I have not had a chance to get back with Mr. Ben Williams to see if the CAD class was interested. So I have not had that opportunity. I know.
I was looking for that.
We do have one right here, though.
That's been,
No.
I think one of our biggest things is I think we should easily talk about what we're gonna do with Camp Long Ranch, and what we're gonna do beyond that. Everybody probably knows my recommendation is we up the rates $5 across the board. That's my recommendation, so I'll throw that out there, and any other discussion, that's what we're here for, so. Rod did a survey of many other sites, and as you can see, we are definitely on the low side, and we also have to remember, we are a campground on the water.
You're not as easy to come by as you think.
We're on the water, and we're walkable to our downtown area, and we have two great amenities right there that a lot of other campgrounds do not have.
How would that $5 rate, how would that bring us in?
It would,
It's 25% roughly 10,000 a year.
did you get his?
Yeah, he's got it somewhere.
This is probably.
This is not $500.
No, this, all he's doing is comparison. The average
Yeah, but
daily
low
load,
range.
this isn't what he has for our
It's not what he's
particular.
proposing.
No, he did an average of
Clean up.
everything.
This is just the average from Home Lake to St. Ignace and over.
Okay,
I picked out roughly 12 campgrounds that were comparable to Central Lake. And like it shows, their average daily low is $23 a night, and that's a tent with electric. And their average high overall, it was $34 a night, and that's full hookup. So with us at 20, we're under lowest, under their average of the worst campsites they have.
I can honestly tell you, I have many people in the park, I go down there quite a bit, I have many actual campers in the park tell me, my gosh, why you do this so cheap? This is an unbelievable good deal, you know? So I mean, that's why I personally feel comfortable with, I think $25 a night to camp in our park on the water is an incredible deal.
If you look all the way at the bottom, even what we discussed before about doing like a seasonal, what they call it permanent, a 6-month lease for like 3 years, and that's guaranteed income. And the lowest was $1,600 a season, and the highest was $2,150. Like up on the hill, something comparable to that.
I'm all for raising it, that's for sure, we do need it,
I
there's no question about it.
definitely like the extended stays on the hill too. I mean, that, like you say,
Yeah.
that's a guaranteed money. I'm not sure I'm convinced at all yet that the leasing for long-term is the way to go. I'm not against it, don't get me wrong, I'm just not sure that that's really fits Central Lake that well yet. But definitely the increased rate. I don't know if we even wanna do for like an extended stays on the top, which we do know where the long-term is if we give them a $1, $2 a night discount or something of that nature, for extended stays, because it's a guaranteed money. But I would agree with Ken that initially across the board, we would, $5 a night would be my recommendation also.
It's a good one.
So I guess I would accept the motion.
You wanna do that tonight?
The board, I think we should move on, everything we can tonight with the parks. I honestly believe that's what we can move forward, because we're getting park season before we know it. And one of the biggest complaints we got last year was people didn't really complain about the changes that we did make. The complaint was that we didn't make the changes knowing well. So I definitely don't want to get in that situation again this year.
And the changes we make it tonight, then Denise can get going with her brochures.
Brochure, I
Everything's
said, I
backed
think
up.
we
She
should-
can't do anything until we make a decision here.
Yes, so I think it's important we move forward on everything we can with parks
You wanna make
tonight.
I was gonna ask one more thing about boat slip rentals. Do we wanna consider anything like that?
When will bring this up?
Well, I'm just curious, 'cause
Within our
it's gonna be in
grant,
the same.
within our grant, 75% of our boat slips have to be transient. So we're only gonna be able to run 25% of them. So I don't know if we wanna really get into that
Right, not that.
now. I mean,
I would,
You know, we
Because
could
that's
ask.
still a year away.
yeah, that won't affect,
It won't affect
I
us
guess
for
it won't
another year and a
affect it
half.
this year.
right.
But at the time we put the grant application in, I don't think we're gonna wanna tell them, I don't know, I honestly don't know how that's gonna work as far as for scoring points on the grant if they're not transient.
I can tell you right now.
I mean, if they're not now, you know what I'm saying, but they will be at the end, I honestly.
Yeah, that would be the question is, do we have to have 75% of our existing docks now transient also to qualify as this, only we, our new dock within it?
We should,
Or
No.
redoing it?
Our docks right now have no bearing on our grant right now.
can we get a motion on raising the campsite increases
I'll
first,
make a
we'll go on
motion
to
to raise
Well, all right,
motion by Shelley,
$5 and
you made a motion, I'll support you, did you, Bill?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That is
let you have to make a call then.
it's done. I think that's what's always.
Okay.
Hopefully we did spend it. No, are we gonna leave we have discounts for weekly stays and all that, correct? Extended stays,
Yes,
Yep, Lyle does have some in there, yep.
those will stay within the structure they're in.
I think we can do that for now, not upset that too much.
What's the average on now for a weekly stay?
I wanna say, over 7 days is a $2 a night discount.
Oh,
It might be a $3 even, I'm not real sure on that one.
I do too.
I'm pretty sure it's two, Joe.
I think it's two.
You don't,
Huh?
I think it's two.
Yeah, I think, it wasn't three, I know.
No, tonight. And we should also discuss, correct me if I'm wrong or help me through this, we allowed extended stays over 30 days on 2 of the sites.
You're talking about waterfront?
Waterfront.
Waterfront?
And I'm just saying, I just think we need to be very clear with what we're doing, so we can get it out there and people know. I think that's real important. So that puts us in the
Yep, a site is discounted $2 per day if the site is reserved 14 days or longer.
Yeah.
That's the bad part.
If you have 2 sites,
I mean, I think it's work best, I just think we need to go so the board, we know what we're saying, and we put it in writing, and give it a package or whatever. we're
that's a
doing.
lot, 30 days.
Sounds like a lot.
Waterfront.
I thought it used to be like 2 weeks, you couldn't stay on the
No,
water.
but last year we had many people requesting. And actually, I think last year it worked out fine. I think people liked it, it worked out great, Lyle handled it well.
He did a wonderful job. I don't know about that. 30 days, I don't know if that would work.
We did last year. That's what we did last year.
Not for 30
Oh,
days
yeah.
on
Oh, absolutely.
waterfront.
Oh, yeah, there were 2 people that stayed over 30 days.
Site right next to the creek because his camper fit into that one
Yeah.
so nicely. There was a larger site, or larger camper. That's the guy who built the house.
Jim Hudson's
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Steve the treater?
daughters.
And what was it, what?
Yeah, Jim Hudson's daughters.
And I think
Oh, you're
that's
talking
one
about George Molson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
George and Tammy.
They liked it so much, he bought a house on Bell Street,
So now we don't get his record.
so they're gone.
Or we could just act.
There'll be somebody else that wants it, that's not, don't worry about that.
Yeah.
On those particular lots, just those 2 lots? Side by side.
That's what it was last year.
I think Lyle doesn't.
I think there's a problem.
Well-
Need to check that down there where it's-
You know, I think we gotta leave some things up to the campground manager and allow him to run the campground for us.
Yeah,
That's
allow
what,
him to do it
yeah.
if it's working.
Sure. And
Yeah,
I
but-
think Lyle's gonna have enough on his hands with the changes we're making and reservations if we're gonna do online and credit cards and all that to be worried about which site he can reserve and can't, so.
There should be designated which ones,
Right.
those 2. Those 2 would be all right.
And then we're the only 2 we're doing for extended stay. I know we'll be on the west side of the drive coming in, right next to the creek. The gentleman there also normally has extended stay.
Right. Just leave that to Lyle's discretion, what 2 lots.
Yeah, I
Because,
think we're
because,
killing
there-
that issue.
right, because there's a huge issue, what size RV
We
are
will
you
allow
bringing
2, we
in?
allow
That
division.
kind of determines what lot.
Absolutely, I think
Well,
we're.
he'll be
Just
here.
leave that to Lyle's
I think
discretion,
that's
it's
right.
2 lots.
We just-
He's coming up before he's supposed to be here. He wanted to come up here and have a meeting with us. So why don't we wait that until
That's probably the way to
then
do it.
decide on that.
It may change from one
If
year.
you got a 55-foot lot that's long, and the guy's putting a tent on it for 30 months, Lyle's gonna put him over on the small one,
Yeah.
and hold this one for the big camper.
Right.
And, yeah.
Okay, I'm up for that.
Now, the one we're gonna.
One more thing I wanted to recommend, when I did all this, I probably went to 6 or 7 different websites. Just typed in Northern Michigan campgrounds. Thurston Park's not on one of them. And there's everything from the Chain of Lakes and Bel Air to Wooden Shoe to Wheelands to,
Just to help you out, I've already discussed that with Mr. Corey at Mission's Computers on search engine optimization for the campground. And we're gonna see what we can do there.
need some visibility out there too, because more people are gonna look that way anyway, so. If you don't know you exist, you're not gonna stay there.
Absolutely, yep. I think something that was also brought to my attention that'd be a great idea is, first to look at is, a lot of these towns, when you drive through them, you see a little sign that says, you know, park this way or campground, boat.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have anything in Central Lake, but one that says, I think, boat launch.
We will, to agree.
Well, there you go, see, so I mean, this is
Another good point,
something,
we're gonna have signage, right?
Yes, there's
Which we should anyway, but.
so I mean,
3% of our scoring on our grant, we do not have the ability to get to the site. So we are gonna have to put signage on 88 and on Old State
And
Road.
it's something we should do anyway, but it's
so
also good for the grant.
would be smart to say, let's make some signs.
I think we should,
I'll make a motion, we make up, 4 signs? Is that right? One on each end of 88, one on each end of,
Well, no, 88's another story. We get back into the state, they apply for a permit, put a sign up. State Street, we can go ahead and sign it however you guys are happy. That's not even an issue.
okay.
But M88 is state highway.
and we're gonna need a sign.
We have to.
We are.
We're gonna have to apply for the permit.
But, so maybe we should just, can you apply for that permit?
Yes.
So maybe we should just leave it at that, let's have apply permit, we'll bring it up at that point, right? Like, I just
Yeah,
think
we're
all
going in
agree
the
we-
waters.
We need to do it.
Okay. Moving on, Leila, moving on.
You guys are doing all my work, thank you.
Okay. Keep dragging me through here, we're doing good.
Yeah. We're still gonna have the slips up on, those slips up on the hill are electrical units
And
to them
so-
still, right? And water?
And wastewater.
That's something like Parks and Rec needs to discuss amongst themselves, is how are they gonna market those sites up on the hill and let people know that they're available? You know, we've set the rates, you know, the extended stay, it's up there. I'm not saying I'm against, the 3-year lease or the 1 year, but what I am gonna say is I don't see any possible way that's gonna happen this year.
Oh,
I
heavens
think we're way too up against it to even explore that, but I think next year, this year, we need to decide how we're gonna let people know those sites are available.
I think that's something.
Once again, maybe it's something to talk about, how we need to get this out there, so on search engines it's hits, or we need to promote our park.
And you need to get it up on your website.
We,
You
we're
need
gonna.
to get that about the top of the hill on your
Yeah.
website.
Yeah,
Full
we're gonna-
hookups,
we're gonna
wastewater,
talk
water,
about
electric,
it. Yep,
discounts.
yep, we're gonna talk about
I
that.
think that's huge.
I think
For
when,
extended stay.
Yes.
one,
On top of the hill.
Yeah, discount for extended stay on top of the hill would be great.
Well, yeah, we can do that.
I think that would be a great thing also, once these flyers get working, we can get with these DOTs and these departments that put them out in different areas, and we can put some out there for, you know, we see them all over the place in rest stops and,
We talked about that, last winter.
we've talked about a lot, but not.
Yeah, we're not gonna need those flyers made up.
Yeah, and here's my other, as we're talking about that, I honestly think we should, and I know there'll be a cost to it, maybe Corey can help me through this. We need a page on our website that really promotes our campground. If you go to other ones, you'll pull it up, you'll see their campground, you'll see us drawing a sketch of their campground, you'll see the lot numbers, you'll see their rates, you'll know what you look at. I think we need that, we need the hill sites. We need to know they're available. And on that same page or separate site, whatever it determines to be, I personally think we need a way where they can reserve those sites. And I think it's real important, and that's just the way the world works. I know there's people that think that's crazy, that we don't have to take reservations. I think anybody who goes camping will tell you, there's a reason the state turned all their sites over to reservations. You can do an online reservation, maybe Corey can, any help you can give me on that? What is the process to go through to accomplish that goal?
There's systems that do that, that do the online reservations, and there's a way we could structure that. The difficulty may be on the campground manager and learning a whole new system, because he's gonna have to learn how to do all that, and that's a big step. I don't know how he's doing things now, but, yeah, it's completely possible, and I can make a recommendation by next month if you like.
I think it'd be great, because we probably need to know a cost on that.
I'd have to look into it to see exactly what it entails.
I think if we're gonna make reservations on our site, I think it's great that we should accept the credit cards and PayPal on that same site also.
Yeah, I think that's something that you look into, how do we set up that whole system, accepting reservations, credit card payments. I kind of foresee it then as the fact that we're gonna have to supply Lyle with a laptop, and not an over-the-top one, but something where he can get on there and he can see which sites have been rented, and I honestly think once we show this to Lyle, he'll realize that it's a pretty easy system, in my opinion. He's just gotta get in the habit of going and looking on his laptop and look, and that site's not available.
I
you
don't
know?
think he'll have any problem with that.
I don't either, I think, I don't, you know, I think we just have to do it, we're not expecting him to set up this program, you know,
No,
we'll supply him with
just
the
have-
laptop, and he just has to check the laptop.
Okay.
You know, the sad thing about this is as we take a step forward, we got 4 steps back we gotta take, and now we gotta have to determine our reservation schedule. Are we gonna reserve for 3 days? Are we only gonna reserve for 2? Can anybody reserve for a day? Do you take a 7 day?
Well, we're gonna know by the time we leave tonight.
So much stuff with
Maybe
this.
this year, easier just to give him a credit card machine and the phone number, say call, he reserves it, he knows what site it is, he writes it down, and just baby
Right.
steps. Get the low
To
hanging
me,
fruit
that's
right
more
now, getting
complicated
through
than
it.
just opening it up and looking at it. Like, I know if you do stuff through like Google Calendar, you can schedule an appointment and it's automatically, you open up, you look, that time's filled. And I kind of see the, am I wrong on it? It's basically that?
Well, it is, but you're talking that times how many sites?
There's some.
Okay, so you got
37.
37 sites that you're trying to manage manually. I mean, that's a lot. And there are actual systems out there designed for hotels and designed for, they can be modified. There's even probably some campground ones, I don't know for sure, that are made so you can reserve, you can pick your site, pick the number of days,
That's
and then
what
it spits out something on the other end, so when he
So he
looks,
sees it.
he should be able to see that. I don't know what the back end of that looks like. I've seen systems like that. I've looked into it a little bit in the past for you guys before I even started dealing with it. So I know, I've got a couple ideas, but I don't have anything concrete.
The one thing that Lyle was concerned about was reserving on the lakefront. A lot of people want just a weekend, and then you got 4 or 5 days that nobody's there paying in on it.
He's been pretty good about filling those.
Yeah, he's been darn good about filling it, but
He
he said
struggled
that is
last
a
year,
concern.
but he tried, you know.
He's catching on to the.
I guess I would really suggest myself that on the lake frontage anyways, that we don't allow anything less than a 4-day reservation. That way, at least we're gonna recoup a small amount. We don't have somebody come in and reserve for just Saturday and Sunday
Yeah.
leaving,
Yeah,
and
they
then
screw up.
the rest of the week's messed up and somebody will want to just stay there all week long.
Yeah, that's true.
Do we put that in stone then, no less than 4-day reservation on the lake?
Because that's the only place that's an issue, is your lakefront lots.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
I really think you ought to leave it to the manager's discretion, because there are gonna be times off season when 2 days is all the person wants.
Unfortunately, if you get into online reservations, a lot of that's gonna be taken out of your campground manager's hands, because they're gonna go online and make without ever talking to them. So if we don't have something in play there in the software that says they gotta do it a certain way, it defeats us.
Every complaint I heard last year, every single one, was because there was too much variance in our rules. Why did he get it 3 days and you're telling me I needed 4? Why did he get that site Tuesday, Wednesday, and I can't have it, I need to leave on Wednesday? So that's what I'm saying, we need rules. If the rule's 4 days, it's 4 days. That's just the way my mind works, and I think they need to be written down. Because every complaint I heard last year, and I'll say it again, was there was variance in the rules, and why did that happen? And somebody was playing favorites, and the guy next door got something I
Oh,
didn't.
that-
You'll always
Yeah,
have
you got
that.
that.
But not if they're written down on a piece of paper.
Well,
Not if it's a 4-day
days,
reservation.
Then you gotta make sure you say 4 consecutive days.
4 consecutive days.
You know, so I want 2 days today and 2 days.
Weekend
next
reservations
week.
would be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
However we want to word it. But I mean, I think that's important that we do that. I really do, because there was.
Well, reservations for the weekend could start on Thursday.
And if anybody disagrees, I'm just saying, that was the #1 complaint I heard last year with our whole,
You
any changes.
two used to do a lot of camping in the areas. I mean, do you guys have any input on that?
I think they've all been voiced,
Yeah.
Lakefront is at a premium, and it should be a minimum of 4 days. I just.
I think you're right, that should be 4 days minimum. Put that in.
I've never seen 4 days, but I've seen 3 lots of times.
I'm all for 3 days if it's $33 a night.
You wanna raise it up that much?
If you want it for 3 days.
All right, I'm gonna make, I'll go on a limb here and say, I'm gonna make a motion that we make, lakefront reservations no less than 4 days. Weekend reservations no less than 4 days.
I'll support it.
4 consecutive.
4 consecutive days,
Four
Thursday,
consecutive
Friday,
days.
I guess it
I'll
was about
support it
they
for
wanted it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
What about
Sunday.
Amelia?
I think the weekend reservation, and that's, like I said, we're just throwing ideas out here, I
It
agree.
doesn't matter what 4 days.
It should be 4 consecutive
4
days for the
consecutive
weekend
days.
reservation.
Yes,
I mean, that's pretty cheap for a $100 bill, I mean, come on.
It is.
I make that
You know.
motion, Ken.
Okay, we have motion by Bobby,
I supported it.
supported by Clark. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes, thank you. Next, that went a lot better.
Yes, we raised, we did most.
We did raise the rate.
rate.
We
$5
did raise the
per
rate.
side.
Yes, you were there. You said aye anyway.
I just wanted to get nailed.
That was earlier. We doing all that. We're doing good.
That $5 though, is that just on Lakefront? or is that on
Across the board, every
all
site.
across the board?
Yep,
Okay,
every site.
okay.
So,
And we will table our talk about online reservations and that whole thing until Corey brings us back some
Our
pricing.
dock rental was about $5.
Do we want to discuss dock rentals? Yes, we want to discuss dock rentals.
I think we should.
Well,
raise them.
can we qualify for this season?
For this season
only?
only, this is, yes, because when it comes into our grant cycle,
Joe,
we will do what we have to
are you
do.
gonna talk about that dredging down there?
Yes.
Yeah, that's an old business.
That's old
When will
business.
we talk about it? Till we get done with this grant deal.
We've got it back, we're done, we're good, we can do what we wanna do.
So that's all,
That's all I'm saying about it.
I agree, we should wait until we, I agree. So, dock rentals.
Well, let's
Somebody
get
who knows
Rod's-
how the dock rentals work, explain to me
Rod's
what's
got his
happened over
thing
the
here.
last few years, because I honestly, I don't know.
I don't know how it worked previous to when I got involved, but when I started with Marilyn and, Marilyn Roach, or Dokes and, Walt Dokes, they used to take their boat down, $300 a summer, they moored their boat there. Other than that, all I have is rumors, stories, and
How many working docks are we gonna have down there this year?
Well, we got,
Can anybody answer that
what
question?
is there?
Two docks,
Will
four
we get four?
sites. Two docks, four
Without
sites.
dredging, we'll be able to use four.
Let's say two docks, four sites.
Without my-
we have.
Or count one for him.
But Lyle gets one.
Right,
Is that correct?
I'm counting it.
Three usable.
Oh, you're already counting Lyle's dock, right? There's 4 available for the public.
It can't
Or
be
docks,
more.
of course, sides.
4 sites.
Four.
4 slips or
There's
whatever
gonna
you
be
call
four.
it.
There's 4 docks down there, one sunken, so there's 3 docks, Lyle's using.
Lyle's gonna get one site, that leaves four sites.
Yep.
Depending on what size boats they mark.
And if we do any dredging, Lyle could use that spot. Because his boat would fit perfect there. And that would open up another spot.
Was it $5 last year?
There's $3 a day is what it's been.
Was it then?
Yep.
Oh, geez, okay. Well,
All right.
Are you talking permanent renters or campers?
Well, then that comes into question. In the past, they have opened up 2 sites, at a minimum I know of. That anybody in the village, first come, first served, could go down and rent them to store their dock at. As I said, Miss Dokes did it for all summer long. I believe there's a gentleman down here on Lincoln that does it.
Fletcher's used to.
Fletcher's used to, I mean, that all used to be.
Claymore.
If you listen to the stories of the history behind them docks, they were never really meant for that. They were meant for the public people to use.
The Lions put them in the beginning as for public use.
So, I mean, where do you wanna go?
Originally, day park use, not overnight.
But if you leave them open for public use, who's gonna hog them too?
Right. But, you know, and I
Yeah, they
can,
weren't for
I can
overnight
argue
mooring.
where that.
Well, that
was
would be our
actually
stipulation,
overnight.
the rest there too.
Well, the white docks aren't for overnight mooring either.
No.
You tell me.
So now what I hear you saying is there's 2 sites available.
Yeah, there's 2 slips available for the campers.
I'm telling you, there's 4 slips down there, but how we decide to use them, we don't know.
Okay.
And so right now, there's 4 slips. We have to decide how we want to use them and what to charge for them. If we are even gonna go that way.
Well, it should be at least $5.
I have a very firm belief
Yes, sir.
that we need to have docks for our campers.
Heck
Anybody that brings a boat,
Right,
I think
yeah.
it's very important that we have that. Unfortunately, as we found getting into this grant, 75% of our docks have to be transient. That brought in a whole new aspect to charging for them. This
That's
year, it's not an
not an
issue,
issue.
so.
So as a park committee, got a recommendation?
Move the docks $5. Oh, I'm not on the park committee. You guys
I said $5.
Available to who?
All right, you've got, who was there last year? Just the one gentleman over there on Lincoln Street, right? That lived in the village.
Well, here's my thought, and I'll throw it out. The docks are never available for somebody for a season.
No.
But that's off the table.
If
That-
that's
that-
on the
that's-
table,
that's my
then
personal
it's,
opinion.
then it's
But
strictly
that's-
for the campers.
Then the discussion is it for the campers or?
Well, it could be for some in the village, but you go out and pay $8 a day or $40 a week for it. Or whatever we wanna
What I
set it.
don't know is we need to restrict it to just the campers.
No, we could just say $5, whoever's got them, whatever. But the campers should
Is there a
have.
maximum time limit on it?
Exactly.
I hate to take anything away from the residents, but it's a value to them in that, but then again, I would think that them are for the campers, and that they should be campers only, and we should not rent them, to residents. Not a monthly or a seasonal basis.
The issue I have is if we run into the campers, we can control it. You give me $5 a day for 4 days, you can have you for 4 days. If we say the public say I'll use them for $5 a day, I'm not gonna stand there. Who's gonna be there? I mean, seriously, realistically, logistics of it, who's gonna be there, say, you put your boat there, it costs you $5.
Probably 90% of the people who are gonna use them docks are people that aren't on the water anyway, because they're gonna moor right up in front of their camper, like they do
They
now.
do.
And then if the campers don't use them, then if you come and tie your boat to it, I guess, because you wanna come downtown or hang out in our town, that's fine by me. That's my personal opinion.
But usually they can't, they pull, if they wanna go to town in their boats, they go over there by the bridge.
Or now that Sam's cleaned it up down in that corner, makes it, you can get up there, it's a little wet, but swampy, but,
What happens when the guy's out fishing and you pull your boat in more than his spot that he rented?
Yeah, that's what I was
I
just
thought,
thinking.
that's not true, you can mark the dock. You can mark, rent it, take it,
Reserve.
I
reserve
mean,
it.
I've
I
seen
mean, that's,
Lyle
you
deal with that.
have your money in the
down there.
camper, the dock's reserved, somebody else's boat at it. Scott gets to go drive it out there.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, I don't know how we, I don't know,
I'm so happy.
I don't know how we control
He's gonna
renting
take the
docks
long
daily.
way around when he brings it back.
I don't think you can.
The campers we can, and then you market the docks.
Double complaining because that's.
Somebody like
Yeah.
Paul could,
Yeah.
Paul,
Yeah.
he's there. He could rent them up by the
Yeah.
day. No, I mean, Paul, yeah.
Oh,
Private business, he can do that
Right.
and manage it just fine. But the park, I mean, you'd have people rolling in and out of there and.
there's probably a reason we go for a grant.
I say
In
we
our
just
states,
take
they
it.
want your docks to be transient, daily use, get people in and out, let them use them, come to your town, move on. But I think the easiest, yes.
Boyne has their boat slips for, for all their boats, but they also have transient slips, so people can come into town. So you
We
might,
do.
huh?
Right at the bridge.
This way with the bridge now.
But we only have 4. That
They
becomes our
got-
big issue. If we had 50, it'd be a whole different conversation. Or 20.
Why
Yeah,
not do
conversation.
like 3 for the campground, or 2 and 2? 2 for transient and 2 for the camper.
Ken, I really don't see where the campground's an issue. Let the campers have them docks, we have the white dock.
Yeah.
Very seldom do we have 5
Well,
boats
that's-
tied up to
That's
our
right,
white
if the
docks.
campground's rented, if 4 of them are reserved, 4 are reserved. If 3 of them are reserved and another boat comes in and uses that other dock, that's fine with me. To come to town. or-
Let's just say
I think they should
no,
be available to the campers and we leave it at that.
no
Does that make
residential
sense?
seasonal rentals.
So why even charge it off for their doggone docks if they're gonna leave the campers there?
Because we like money.
See, then you're gonna fight over who's gonna be in there.
No, I mean, if you went to any other campground, would you pay for a boat?
Yes.
I have many a times.
So the charge is,
Yeah, I think that's a
pay
normal
more than
thing.
$5 a day.
I really-
I'm
Okay,
ready to
then-
store my trailer.
Yeah.
Even
When you're,
my
when you're,
boat
in a-
was
when,
in the
especially when
water.
you're campground, you can't put your boat anywhere.
Yeah.
And you wanna go fishing every morning, that's where you go there for, and you gotta unload it and load it on a trailer every day. They're more than welcome to give you $8 or $10 a
I
day.
say we go $5 a day per dock, go ahead.
I have a comment. Why would we exclude residents from dock rental and space when they're taxpayers?
Just seasonal,
Just,
so that they can't.
People coming in camping are not paying taxes locally.
But these people that are coming in paying, rentals for that campground are paying for the upkeep and maintenance on them. The campground makes money every year in the revenues. And they pay to maintain them docks. So in my opinion, the campground is what supports them docks, not the tax dollars for the residents, if I'm looking at it
Local
correctly.
residents can still use
The other
the
docks.
public docks over there.
We are only discussing the 4 docks by the office area and the campground. The transient docks over the white ones on the boardwalk.
I would be voicing my
Our-
opinion.
our neighbor
Have that
Ted,
big white dot.
Yes, your
He-
neighbor said one.
You know, he uses that.
That made a big
They're
difference.
nicer, they're
It's huge. It made a
more
big difference.
accessible.
So, I mean, and that was one that, you know, Ted was, his name was who I was trying to,
Right.
when I said there's a gentleman on Lincoln that uses them.
Credo,
Oh,
Ted
okay.
Credo.
Yeah. So,
And also, if you open it up to the village residents, this is what happened in another town. They actually had a lottery for their 5 boat slips. And you literally put your name in a film case and dropped it in there, and if you wanted your slip, you came, I think it was the first weekend in March, open it up, one of the slips, they hung it up.
Let's do a public auction.
And that's,
Or private auction.
and that's what,
We'll
that's what actually
get
came
city
down
wants
to.
money,
Back to
we'll make
something.
more money.
The school's gonna want, everyone's gonna want it, and then all of a sudden you have
That's
to
the
have a
problem we're
lottery.
gonna have, we really, that's what I was just saying. What do you do when 8 people decide they want it? Then, you know, I can promise you, no matter what we do, we just got to pick who we want to get upset with at this point.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Because
just.
I agree, I mean, you could go, there's not a good answer that's gonna make everybody happy, we just have to pick one and move on. I myself am comfortable.
I say it goes to camp.
I don't think we have a marina. You know, we don't have a marina, we have some boat docks.
Just leave them to the
The
campers.
boat
and
docks
the
are right
public
there
can
for
use
the campers.
Whatever, if it's not reserved, they can use it.
They can use the public docks.
Yeah, or, like I said, if there's one there that doesn't have a reserve going on, or if they decide to mark them reserved,
That should settle it.
this will be a learning year for us, we know that on lots of things, by reservations, everything, so.
Okay, I agree.
Even when you talk about the public docks, I like to see a limit on them too. You know, there's people at the end of Bell Street, they'll park their boat there at 8 in the morning and they'll be there at 9 at night and never moves. And they go back to their house. And I've seen it many times do it, yeah.
Yeah, because that's why we have very limited on the boat slips that we have
They
available.
take
for our
advantage
town.
of
We
our
have
dock,
to-
and they make it not accessible to the people who just wanna run into John's to get ice cream or whatever, get a pop.
Yeah, that
They
really was the
can't tie
intention of
off.
those docks, was to come in, go to the store.
And they're
walk
actually
uptown,
using it
do
as their
something.
public, they don't monitor overnight, but it's there from daylight till dusk.
Yeah.
And they know what they're doing, they're doing it intentionally, they're not doing nothing against, there's
Well,
nothing that
remember-
says they can't do that.
That's why I hope our.
We're not gonna fix everything overnight.
Right.
We're-
Yeah, I said
we're- this
that's
is
a
work in
different- that's a
progress.
different
As
day.
Part of our going after this grant, maybe doing more docks, and yeah, that's the boardwalk later, so.
Huge thing, we gotta knock that whole corner.
But right now, though, I think we gotta move on to this. and get
Yes,
the-
please.
Leave the docks for guys at the park for as well.
Okay.
Absolutely.
At $5 a day?
Yes.
Is that the motion, I'll accept the motion.
Yes, I make that motion, $5 a day for the campers.
For the floor. Motion by Clark,
I support it.
support by Thayer, all in favor?
Whatever.
That was painful.
I'm getting tired.
Yeah.
That horse didn't be on.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about.
Well.
Reservation, is that all we need to discuss in park issues? Do you have any other park issues we should deal with at this?
No.
Denise had some things with her flyers that she brought up
It's
earlier.
just, I just got cost,
What is-
We talked about do it outside the meeting, okay. Okay, I have one more thing we need to take care of.
She's got her flyer, she's got.
Quickly.
She's got her flyer thing.
On the
that you
park.
had cost on.
Oh, sorry, Billy.
I stepped and talked to Jack, and he has a couple different, options for us. There's the kind like Ken's, it's, you know, two-sided. For 1,000 of these, if we provide the photos and the, you know, everything for the layout, it would end up costing us, $192 for 1,000. And this kind, trifold that has a, you can even mail them out if you want to do it that way. For 1,000, it would be $250. So that's really all I could find out, because we don't have any, we're not ready to move on it today, so it's just a cost, so.
But that one like Ken's got, you can always put a sticker on the bottom to mail it somebody, you know, if you want to.
Yeah, yeah, because we.
That would work out.
Some of the other issues, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So the only thing I'd just like to say is, everybody's got a copy of this trustee manual. We have to lay this, we have an old trustee bylaws and procedures that we have, it's been Brian's recommendation. This comes from the MML. It's one that, as you can see, we had written up for rules of procedure for Central Lake Village Council. It's not something I just did, we've had this for a long time. I believe, and I may be wrong, this is the one we used to use in the whole, in the 1-year turmoil period. There were 2 of them laying on the table. There was way too much discussion about it. One of them got adopted. It's a lot of people thought, no, that it was the wrong one. And this one, yeah, this one is, yep. This one is recommended by the MML. There's a few, I apologize, there's a few things around here that we changed, but this has to lay on the table for 30 days. So the next month, it will be written up with the changes, and at that time, we can enact on it. But I personally think it's much better. The old one had a lot of stuff in it that, as we learned, rules of procedure are not set in stone. Rules of procedure are something that we as a council agreed to abide by. If anybody wants to break them, you can do whatever you want to do, and there's nothing realistically we can do about it. We don't need a grievance procedure, we don't need anything, because the only way you can take care of that problem is by having that person recall. So the other one was full of all sorts of things that didn't pertain, that did. And this is, no, this keeps it real clean and simple. It doesn't address too much, you know. We abide by the Open Meetings Act, we abide by FOIA, we abide by a lot of state statutes that are already there. We don't have to reduplicate it. So it's just something to look at for a month. Any suggestions, get a hold of me. If not, we'll have to put it back in the new form, and hopefully next month we can adopt it. Brian's looked at this. These check to go because this comes right straight from the MML. There's suggestions. The DEQ permit, we don't need to.
No, the DEQ permit, the only thing I would say about that is that we were granted the DEQ permit, and we're good to go with that. So, do you want us to do that?
Okay.
And
I'll make a motion. I'll turn the motion to adjourn. Motion by Bodley. Support by Pierce. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
This is the longest meeting.
We got a lot done. I honestly, really thought that would take longer to get through.
Well,